I wrote this book less than a year ago. What if you could talk to it? And that was the exact question that I had when I was thinking about how to make it possible for my potential readers to talk to the book or interact with the book and ask for information without even buying it. And this was the previous version of the site which was deployed, and I think it's quite boring because it has a lot of text and nobody can really know what's inside the book. And this is the new version, a much fancier version with some examples, with some details. But I want to highlight the chat feature, which I implemented with Google Gemini 1.5 Pro. When you click this, you can essentially ask questions about the book, or you can just ask questions about Angular in general. For example, how to pass a value from parent to child component. And when you send this, this is going to go through a complete pipeline, which is based on Google Gemini 1.5 Pro. It's also based on LLamaIndex, and it goes through a lot of things, including a retrieval augmented generation process in which it not only talks to Gemini, but also the context or the files that I provided it for further sort of fine-tuning, but not really. So in here, you can see that this gives the information on how to do it as a high-level overview. It tells which chapter name it belongs to, which is the first chapter. And this also tells which recipe it belongs to. Finally, it also brings the demo URL and the GitHub URL. So if I click this one, you can see that now we have this add notification and we are sending this information right here, remove notifications, reset, and everything works as expected here. And we can also click the GitHub URL. So it takes us to the source code of the particular recipe in the Angular cookbook. Now you also see that this also brings some suggestion for the user to ask as a follow-up question, or I could just regenerate my last question. But let's say I ask a very important question, how to optimize performance for my Angular applications. This is a really important question that a lot of Angular developers ask, and let's see if this brings the values from our book. Now that the answer has been generated, I'll show you what are the options that the book provides and also the response contains. For example, using on-push change detection. We're also talking about detaching the change detector. We are also talking about async events outside Angular. There are a bunch of things, but all of them essentially can be looked at both when it comes to looking at the demo or looking at the GitHub URL. For example, I could just open this one, and here we have an app that is deployed to GitHub pages via my GitHub repository. So I could log in as admin. I can see all of this. And lastly, let's talk about testing. Does the book contain anything about testing at all? And there we go. You can see that we are getting the information on what kind of testing is available. For example, the book does talk about unit testing here. And those are all the recipes in the book related to unit test. And then we also have end-to-end testing as well, which has this chapter and all these recipes. And there we go. Just by using Google Gemini 1.5 Pro, the Google's text embedding models, using LLamaIndex for retrieval augmented generation and Python and a bunch of sleepless nights, I was able to implement this cool little feature for all the potential buyers for my Angular Cookbooks 2nd edition, which is always up to date with the latest version of the Angular framework. With that said, let me know what you think about this whole implementation, and if there's anything in particular you want me to work on, let me know in the comments. As always, happy coding.